Start your engines. The Syracuse Nationals rolls into Syracuse, New York, July 18th through the 20th for its 25th anniversary. Experience the largest car show in the Northeast with over 7,000 vehicles. It's 3 days of hot rods, classic cars, live entertainment, and family fun. Mark your calendars and make the Syracuse Nationals part of your summer plans. Buy your tickets, register your ride, and get all the details at SyracuseNationals.com. Syracuse Nationals. It's worth the drive.
Fran Brown this, Fran Brown that.
You know, winners get washed.
If I say one negative thing about Adrian Autry, the show ends and we just go to break.
If you want me to take a lie detector, Brian, I'll take it.
I don't like peanut butter.
Anybody that thinks this is going to come back is either naive or plain stupid.
All across CNY.
My name's on this show every freaking day.
It's the 315.
Hardy faking, feeds the Grace Jameson. Got it! Won the game!
He scores! Woo! Here's Brian Higgins.
Tuesday. Welcome in on this year. Lovely Tuesday afternoon all across CNY, Q's, Utica. We see you, Rome. What's up, Rome? How we doing here on this fine Tuesday afternoon? Q Sports Talk. QSportsTalk.com. Q Sports Talk on the YouTube. Q Sports Talk on the Twitch. Oh, we got the chats. So many chats in front of our face. We're chatting. We're hanging out. We're ready to roll here on this Tuesday. Our phone lines operational. 315-437-7644 for ESPN 44. You know the digits. You know how to use them. You know where we are. What do we got going on today? Man, Mike McAllister saw the future yesterday, and he saw, like, the immediate future. He said something might happen. Literally an hour later, it happened. Like, the show ended, the thing he said was going to happen happened. I'll tell you what that was. Coming up, another member, the 8th, has officially been added to Boeheim's Army. This one you probably haven't heard of before. We will test your love and knowledge of diminutive point guards on the Jaquan Carlos scale. So we'll get to that coming up later on in the show as well. We have a new segment to debut. Ooh, what could it be? What could it be about? Get to that. We had a dramatic change last night, a dramatic, unexpected shift in the NBA Finals versus Stanley Cup Final rankings. Dramatic and unexpected shift that, frankly, had nothing to do with the actual basketball that got played last night. We'll get to that as we go along. The women's lacrosse head coach has gotten a recruit, Reggie Thorpe. Not today. He'll be on the show tomorrow. Reggie Thorpe on the show tomorrow for his first conversation with us. So looking forward to that. We'll hear from Mr. Thorpe tomorrow on the program. The longtime Syracuse assistant who went out in the world, came back home, and has taken over for Kayla Trainer as the new women's lacrosse head coach. So all of that on the docket for us today on an always busy Tuesday afternoon. With that, let's get going.
We start with the Burdick BMW opening drive.
All right, let's open it up and let's get going here on this Tuesday afternoon. And where to start on this Tuesday afternoon? We got to start where we so often start.
It's a Fran Brown countdown.
About to get wild.
I know that's...
Winners get wild.
100 days.
I'm getting 100 cups of coffee, starting now.
100 thoughts.
Hey, Fran Brown.
It's a Fran Brown countdown to Syracuse football.
What a win for the franchise. What a year it has been.
It's the final countdown.
Okay. 74 days until the opener now. 74 until Syracuse, Tennessee, Saturday, August 30th, high noon, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Aflac kickoff. the Chick-fil-A stand open in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Somebody will be starting at quarterback for Syracuse. Somebody will be starting at quarterback for Tennessee as we kick off the season in 74 days. And Fran Brown says we got a little time to wait to get ready for that game. We got a little time to wait to figure out who the quarterback's going to be. We got time to wait on all this stuff. I keep getting emails about the ACC kickoff event that's coming up mid to late July. We'll certainly have full coverage of that when push comes to shove. I believe it's the 25th, 23rd, 20. It's a Wednesday. It's in July. We'll have all that coming up in roundabouts a month. But June. Oh, June is the month in which Fran Brown stretches out, gets loose and limber, and makes things happen. June is turning into the month of Fran Brown. Yeah, they won 10 games in September and October and November and December last year. But June is the month of Fran. Mike McAllister, 24/7 Sports, covering Syracuse, of being Mike McAllister, was on this here very program yesterday, not 23 and 1/2 hours ago. And this is what Mike McAllister said when I asked him, all right, we've talked about all the people and all the things that happened. What do we need to watch out for next? What do we need to look out for this week of June?
Corday Houston, who's a defensive lineman from Texas. Houston is one I'm keeping an eye on. He's got a very impressive offer list when you start looking. He's got the Texas A&Ms and the Houstons and those types of schools, but was at Syracuse this past weekend, was at California the weekend before. I haven't seen any other official visits scheduled for him, so it wouldn't surprise me if there was some sort of decision in the near future there. That's someone I'm keeping an eye on.
Mike said that, like 4:50-ish yesterday. Right around 6 o'clock. After the show ended, we'll have a discussion about that later, Corday. Corday Houston, about 6 o'clock last night, committed to Syracuse. So further official visits? No, thank you. Not right now. Corday Houston is 6'3", 275-pound defensive lineman from deep in the heart of Texas. He is from Dallas. He is from the Dallas area. He is from the Metroplex, and he has been ripped away from that area by the combination of Elijah Robinson and Nick Williams, both listed as recruiters of Houston on the 24/7 site. The defensive line coach in Williams, the defensive coordinator who coached for many years at Texas A&M in Elijah Robinson. They went down, especially Elijah, into his old stomping grounds and found a guy that's not a 4-star, but he's a high 3-star. Here's an offer list. Now, what are committable offers? What's this? What's that? Who cares? High 3-star defensive lineman. Big guys beat up small guys. Fran Brown. Visited Cal, was at Syracuse. Other offers: LSU, Texas A&M, Houston, Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh, among others. LSU, A&M, Houston, Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh, among others. Pretty good group to be hanging out with. Yet again, Syracuse has gone up against big-time schools for what is a premium position. There are not a lot. We were talking yesterday about the pass rushers they had in town over the weekend. 4-star, 3-star pass rushers in town over the weekend. And now you get a guy that was also here a week ago to commit at a defensive position that, yeah, usually big-time defensive linemen don't go to Syracuse. They go SEC. And if you're one of those guys that pops, you then go to the NFL. Because he had the two guys, Jarius Rogers, Cameron Wilson, two edge rushers from Miami. Here's a guy that'll be more of a defensive tackle, one would presume middle of the line situation. And this is after Syracuse lost Marad Watson, who was that, now will be attending Texas. Got some serious NIL bank to do so. It'll be down in Texas here this fall. So Syracuse, at least for now, and we'll see what he develops into or how long you keep a guy like this. But man, what a get for Syracuse to go into, and it's not so much, okay, yeah, you got a 3-star defensive lineman. So what? You got him from Texas. You got him out of Dallas. He's the 100th ranked defensive lineman in the class, 128th ranked player in the state of Texas, where I've heard they care a little bit about football. But this is 100% a guy, and this is where it'll be interesting to track a career like this. Now, Murad Watson had a very good freshman season last year, right? He was a freshman All-American by, wasn't by 24/7, but by various publications. And he had a very nice season, which then set him up to be a hot commodity in the transfer market, in the NIL market, in very specifically the tampering market, because young, not a lot of guys like that have significant playing time as a freshman, and they're few and far between to collect. Who knows what this guy is going to be, not this year, but next. Could he be another one of those guys? Could Syracuse have worked up their depth by that point, that they don't necessarily need to force a freshman at that position where it is hard to succeed as a freshman right into the lineup? Maybe that's a year and a half from now. We'll find that out down the line. But this tells you several things. Tells you several things that we already know, but it once again, we find Fran confirming things over and over again as far as policy and practice and roster building. Because this tells you, A, Syracuse ain't afraid to go into Florida. Syracuse ain't afraid to go into Texas. Yesterday, 2 high 3-star, low 4-star edge rushers out of Florida, staring down Florida State and saying, yeah, we'll take that. Today, Dallas, right in the meaty middle of Texas. You're in there. Offers, LSU, A&M, Houston. Like, you're fighting some people that are down in that area all the time. Obviously, Elijah Robinson did great work in that area when he was at Texas A&M. It's a significant advantage Syracuse has for a Northeastern school in that area right now. But, yeah, it's why he's on this staff, on top of being the defensive coordinator. So Syracuse knew they were going to go against the big boys in that area, did so, and at least for now have done so successfully. The other thing that they know, and certainly we'll see how it plays out again after the Murad Watson thing, you know that if this guy comes to Syracuse and succeeds right away, that, yeah, it might be hard to keep him. As we found out with Murad Watson, it might be impossible to keep him. Because remember what Fran said when Murad transferred. He heard what he was getting into the transfer portal and basically shook his hand and said, go get yours. We'd love to keep you. We can't match that number. Go get yours. Best wishes. You've earned it. Go get it. So long. If that happens with this guy, if that happens with Corday Houston from Dallas, kid Minneapolis. If that happens with this guy and you lose him like that, realistically, if you're Syracuse, you have to evaluate that as a success. Because it means he did something for you that was good enough to catch the eyes of people with deeper pockets. Which means, in order to do that, he at least did something good for you on the field first. And that's just the business you're in right now if you're Syracuse. When you start swimming in these deeper recruiting waters, yeah, you will lose some. Eventually. You will lose them late in the game. You will get people coming in trying to flip through your players late before they get to school. And you will get people looking at your players that maybe you found, not that this guy's a diamond in the rough, he's a high 3-star, but maybe he's better than that. And maybe you realized he's better than that. And maybe you put him in a position to be better than that, like Syracuse did with Murad Watson last year, who, very similarly, decently recruited, got forced into a situation last year with injuries and whatnot to Tank Wilson and others that he played more than expected and succeeded more than expected, and thus got the check that maybe no one was expecting at that time from Texas. Now you've been through that and you know. You know when you recruit a guy like this from an area like that if he has success at Syracuse next year, people will come for him. And that's okay. In the past, that was annoying. It's still annoying, but now it's annoying within the parameters of understanding what you're dealing with. Now it's like, well, that's annoying. You wish he'd stay, but I get it, and this is the world we're playing in right now. At least you know what you're dealing with, and I think, of all the things, we keep showering Fran with praise, and with good reason so far through a year and change, that a lot of the, older school coaches, whatever you want to call them, just flat out older coaches, you can feel them like fighting against the construct that they are in right now because it is so different from what it was for so long. Fran Brown seemingly has just decided to, I accept the world we're in right now. How can I operate within it? He has gone into it not kicking and screaming, not trying to force his views on this world, but he has surveyed the current world, accepted it, and then gone to work figuring it out. And in many ways, yeah, he's charismatic. Yeah, and clearly he's a good coach. Yeah, the whole thing. I think in many ways that's his lead skill right now. Just accepting that, yeah, maybe he didn't want it to be this way, but it is this way, and we're going to deal with it. We're going to deal with it, and yeah, I've got values in Dart and this and that. We're going to try to make that work within the construct of this current system. We're not going to try to force this as something in place of the current system. No, we're going to take my values, Dart, make it work in the current system. Yeah, it's great. Go get some NIL, but I'm going to help you save some for later. Yeah, it's great. Okay, transfer portal, go from school to school, but okay, let's try to make sure that you got a JOB lined up after the fact if you're not going to be an NFL player. But yeah, let's try to get you to be an NFL player first. He is accepting the construct of the current system and trying to operate within it in ways that other people just flat out don't want to do, right? Because it's so different. It's completely different than what it's ever been. Everything has been turned on its head in college sports in the last 3 years, especially in college football and college basketball. Some people want to keep doing it the old way. Fran said, what old way? It's like it's just gone from his brain. It's like he Men in Black memory erased himself. It's like, oh, look at this system. Let's go with that. There we are. I think it's a significant reason why Fran Brown's being successful in this current era of college athletics. And there we are, Burdick BMW opening drive here on this Tuesday. With that, let's get a check of the markets here on this Tuesday. And let's see, the call screener says it's a Lee Baldwin from Lee Baldwin. That must mean that Lee Baldwin is on the line. Hey, Lee, how'd this Tuesday go?
Hey, Brian, I didn't get screened out. The stock market gave up yesterday's gains and fell almost what we were up yesterday as everyone prepares for what the Fed has to say tomorrow afternoon. But we do have a diamond, Chevron, up another 1.9%, and that's with oil prices certainly in the news the last few days. And our dogs are solar stocks like Enphase, First Solar. All these stocks were down solid double digits with a new tax bill, possibly including some major cuts to solar and wind credits. And finally, looking ahead, the odds are we stay where we are with interest rates. But, Brian, you never know on Wall Street.
That is a fact, and we've been living that for the last few months for sure, Lee. All right, Lee, thank you as always. There he is, Lee Baldwin himself, all of the diamonds and none of the dogs. More info for Lee and his whole crew, LeeBaldwin.com. LeeBaldwin.com. Break now. Phone lines wide open today, people. 315-437-7644 for ESPN 44. Your thoughts on whatever. Fran, we'll get a little hoops in next. A couple of hoopsy topics that I had on the docket for last Friday, and we just got going on other stuff. We never got to them. We know the freshman's numbers. What's Cayenne wearing? Which of Carmelo's former numbers is Cayenne wearing at Syracuse? We know that answer. We know the name of another Boeheim's Army member. We'll get to all of that after this and your calls. 315-437-7644. Back after this on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio. 1200 AM.
Oh, chat. What is up, chat? Number 7, Stay Mellow. Better movie, Men in Black 1 or Men in Black 2? Man, I just don't remember the movies well enough to differentiate them from each other. Kev? I know Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones are wandering around. They got the... Am I giving away tickets? No? Do people think... Yeah, why are so many people suddenly calling? I think Cayenne at various stops has worn 7 and 1. What is Stefan calling about today? Stefan? Frank in Chicago? What's up, Dom? Hello, Super Cat. I got you like a Stephanish hello there. I feel good about it. Nice, Kev. Got that leaf filter stuff like years ago. So worth it. Just not to get crap in your gutters. What's up, Frank? I did SuperVac, and it's worked to a point. I think there may be some other issues as well with the Dyson. Like, it's worked, but I think there's some. I think the vacuum itself may be on its a bit of last legs. Like, it works, but then sometimes things go awry, and I don't think it's a battery issue. I gotta give the vacuum a thorough look. I feel something maybe like clogged somewhere. I gotta give a more thorough examination of things. But I did, and it works. Like I put it on and clicked the battery in, and it vacuumed. But then sometimes it goes like which I don't think is a battery thing.
All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
Here I am. There you are. As we convene here on this Tuesday afternoon, all across CNY, all across wherever you feel like being on Kia Sports Talk. Phone lines available, 315-437-7644. Let's utilize them phones, and we shall start out in Utica with our guy, Stefan. Stefan, hello.
Hello, Brian Higgins. How are you today?
I am doing lovely on this fine Tuesday, Stefan. How are you?
Very good. Now, I'm wondering who's going to be on the roster for this coming winter for Syracuse men's basketball. And I was talking to a student the other day, and they were saying this year was the first year since the first graduating class that the men's basketball team didn't make any tournaments since before Jim Boeheim was coached, and I'm wondering if they're going to be better this year, or what will the turnout prediction be?
Yeah, Stefan, I think the seniors that just graduated, they are the first group, you're right, in a very long time that did not get to see as a student an NCAA tournament game for Syracuse. I think this is a two-pronged answer here, Stefan. Like, will they be better than last year? I think that's an easy yes. This is a significantly better roster on paper, and I would presume in actuality, than a year ago. There's seemingly a lot more talent on this year's roster than last year, and it seemingly fits the scheme that Red wants to play a lot better than last year. The other part of the question could be touch and go, Stefan. Will they make the tournament? I'd like to think so. But we've seen what it's been like for the ACC the last few years. It's not been easy to get tournament teams. And while Syracuse is better than last year, they were so far removed from where they needed to be last year. It's almost hard to judge the jump they've made this year, Stefan. So, I think at minimum they'll be in the mix. I'd be very surprised if they're not at least working their way toward the bubble. I don't feel confident here mid-June saying that, like, absolutely they'll be in the tournament. But I think we'll all be watching a significantly better basketball team than last year.
Well, I I wish them luck, and thank you, Brian.
All right. Thank you, Stefan. Always good to hear from our guy, Stefan, out in Utica. Yeah, will they make the tournament? Man, I don't know. I'd like to get a further grasp of their schedule here. Like, we should be hearing what's going on with that Players Era tournament within the next week or two, it sounds like. I'd like to hear who they're playing out there. I'd like to get a fuller grasp of who their non-conference opponents are going to be. You know, we know Tennessee's coming to the Dome. That won't be easy. It sounds like they'll be playing Mercyhurst. That should be easy. But, you know, if it's not easy early in the season, then we'll know that, like, Houston, we got a problem. So I don't know. Like, it's been radio silence for the most part on who they're playing this year. So hopefully that stuff starts coming out sooner than later. What did Red say about it last week? Like, there's going to be neutral site games, but not in New York. It was very cryptic, and I pride myself in my code cracking. Yeah. No. I'm out to sea on that one. Haven't figured that out yet. All right, let's get back to the phones. We got Frank in Chicago. Hey, Frank, what's up?
What's good, Brian Higgins?
All good here, Frank. What's up with you?
Doing well. You know, it's very hot today here in Chicago.
A lovely day here, so hopefully you're staying cool as best you can.
I am, but anyway, I do want to talk about the two Syracuse football recruits that I heard.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them's from Dallas and one of them's from Florida, correct?
Yes. They just got a defensive lineman from Dallas today, which sounds like a good thing. And then, well, I guess the one they got yesterday, I think, is from New Jersey, is who they got yesterday. But yeah, they're doing well under Fran right now, getting guys in the boat here in June.
Okay, and I have another Syracuse football prediction for you today.
Okay, so you had them winning the opener 20-17, if I recall. What do you got today, Frank?
No, I had them losing 20-17.
Oh, right, it was a losing close. All right, it was a field goal game in the opener. Okay, what is prediction? What is today's prediction, Frank?
Well, we have to go to South Bend, Indiana for this one.
Okay.
And I feel like this game will end in a overtime period.
Going OT at Notre Dame, okay.
But unfortunately, Notre Dame will win 27-24.
Okay, you are tantalizing us with these predictions, Frank. We're going out of order. It's kind of a fun adventure here. So two field goal losses for the Orange against two college football playoff participants from last year. All right, Frank, keep them coming. Thanks as always for the call. Our guy Frank out in Chicago. So he's got Tennessee beating Syracuse 20-17 in Week 1. And then in Week 11, in overtime, Syracuse falling to Notre Dame 27-24. Hopefully it makes some exciting rallies in other weeks of the season. All right, get one more in before the break here. Again, phone lines open throughout the show today. 315-437-7644. Ryan in Virginia is hanging out. What's up, Ryan?
Brian Higgins, the pride of Shaker High School. How are you?
Absolutely. Thank you. Why do you know that? I guess I've mentioned it before. What do you know about Shaker High School?
Yeah, sorry. I think I've heard you mention it on the show, and I had a cousin that graduated there.
Okay, I was saying you are from Virginia. This makes no sense. But yes, I assume they must have pictures of me in the halls by now or something. I haven't been back in a minute to check it out. But yes, go Blue Bison. What's up, man?
Yeah, no, from northern New York, but relocated to Virginia. But,
okay.
Just some thoughts on Syracuse football. The way I see it, last year and the 10 wins happened really because if you could boil it down, I would say three things. You had a stud quarterback with McCord.
Mm-hmm.
You had a ton of upperclassmen leadership on both sides of the ball. And then the third one, they stayed relatively healthy, whereas previous years it wasn't just a few injuries. It was like half the team was injured come November. So without those three things, even if you have two of those three, I don't think they win 10 games last year. So with all that said, I would say, considering the schedule, no one wants a mediocre team, but 6 wins, I think would be pretty good when you look at who's on that schedule. And more importantly, it would put him at 4 years in a row with a bowl game, as opposed to, as we've seen in the past, there'd be a good year, or maybe 2 good years, and then a bad year, but no consistency. So I would say even 6 or 7 with everything, you look at the current roster, I think that would be pretty good, because who knows how many of those teams are going to be ranked. And then I wanted to ask your thoughts on the quarterback situation. My gut is telling me that Angeli's going to be the guy, especially when we think about where he's from, New Jersey. I want to say he plays for Coach Nunzio's brother.
Yep.
But I haven't heard many reports of, who might be in the lead for that competition. So wondering what you think about that.
That is my current inkling, Ryan. I haven't really heard a ton about it, but you just start looking at the scene and you see like the timing of how it all went down, right? It feels like that would be my guess. But I think realistically, Ryan, when you look at how it's going to go down, I think that's going to be as close to a fair fight as you can get in a training camp scenario, because it's not like, it's so different from McCord, right? Like, clearly McCord was the starting quarterback last year. There wasn't a second thought, and everybody and their mother knew that was the situation. This year, I'd say, I bet when camp opens up, Angeli will be taking first-team reps, but I bet Ricky Collins will also be getting some first-team reps, and I think it will be a legitimate competition. And unlike last year, when barring injury, it was very clear, right? McCord was going to start every game all season. There was no scenario of healthy otherwise. If you tell me like Angeli comes out the first 2-3 weeks and doesn't play great, like, it wouldn't surprise me for them to change course during the year, I think. But yeah, if I were to take a guess right now, who starts the opener, Ryan, I would guess Steve Angeli starts the opener.
Gotcha. Appreciate you taking my call. Thanks for the reporting on all the recruiting stuff too. That's good stuff. Always appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Ryan. And yeah, as far as Ryan's other comment, yeah, you look at the schedule. Would 6-6 be like thrilling? No, but they're playing 4 teams from last year's college football playoff, and none of those games are in the Dome. Yeah, they're also playing at Miami and at Georgia Tech. Those are 2 good teams. Yeah, it's a very tough schedule. I know Fran's not going to hold a party for 6-6, but I think Ryan's part is interesting. And yeah, I get the Dino thing had gotten stale, but yes, they did make bowl games each of the last 2 years. They made a bowl game last year. They make a bowl game this year. You look back, it hasn't been since late Coach P that they would have been on a run like this. Now, they did not make a bowl game after the 2000 season, but had that season happened in the current era, that team would have made a bowl game. They were 6-5, I believe, or 6-6. It was just there were not as many bowls. It wasn't everyone goes to a bowl then. So 2001 is the year that run of P ended. Since then, there's not been any collection of seasons 4 in a row. There's not been any collection of seasons before last year 3 in a row where that was possible. Doug made 2 in 3 years. Scott Schaefer made one the first year, so it was 3 in 4 years. Dino made the one in 2018. There's been no other years of connectivity where that could have even possibly been a thing. So, yeah, they make a bowl game this year. It's 4 in a row. All right, it's now starting to look at least a little bit. You just got to squint a little bit. It's starting to look a little bit like at least the end of P. And then the question is, can you add some more years like last year, which looked a lot like the wheelhouse of Coach P, the McNabb years, the heyday of the 90s. You get a few more years like that, and then all of a sudden you're replicating what we had 20, 25 years ago. All right, let's take a break. Phone lines remain open next year. In this hour, brought to you by dvoffers.com, 315-437-7644. Back after this, much more to come here on a Tuesday on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
This
You don't know that, Tronic. There might be blue bison roaming the plains right now. Look, it's Tim.
Hey, look, it's Brent. I want to pass along that. I don't know if this guy's in the chat, Jeff in Central Square, but he called in after Frank's call and said, tell Brian we can't let that guy in the air anymore because he keeps picking Syracuse to lose.
That's true. Frank, you have picked Syracuse to lose twice.
Yeah.
So,
2 games that I think everyone is assuming they might.
That said, like, those are games that Dino would have lost by $8 million in 12. So if you can lose them by 3, oh man, yeah, Coach P, you just His loyalty was both his strength and his undoing, right? If he was willing to move on from De Leon, he could have kept his job probably for another year or 2. And then maybe we avoid the G-robbing, and who knows. But, yeah. Where is Syracuse playing UConn? There's no UConn on the schedule, to my knowledge, Zach. Notre Dame. You're a Notre Dame fan, Frank. Move on from De Leon. I think every Syracuse fan on earth wanted them to move on from De Leon back in like 2003, 2004. I'm reasonably sure that Coach P was asked if he would do that and said no. I mean, come on, Q's Vegas. In like 03, 04, like that offense could have used a little modernization. And you'll note that Jake retired before the decisions were made on Coach P. The greatest loss of the Mac years was Auburn. Coach Mac didn't lose to Auburn. Tied him. Yeah, I mean, Kevin Rogers. It's the Board of Trustees that pushed him out. The Board of Trustees essentially fired Coach P at halftime of that bowl game. Or at least the important members of it did. Darryl Gross had been on the job like a week and a half. You think he made that decision unilaterally? He aired it out a bit more with McNabb, though. Q's Vegas. Like, come on. It's not hindsight, Q's Vegas. You don't remember the discussions about De Leon at the time? Like, short side option? Like, come on. It was a real-time conversation of the Syracuse fan base. It was not a win, Pastor Tim. That is true. What is the greatest loss of the Coach P era? I mean, the Tennessee opener in '98 is the one you keep coming back to, and the Miami game in '92. Getting real, Q's Vegas. You don't remember the Syracuse fan base wanting to like put George De Leon out to pasture? You don't like. I'm not making this up. Like, come on. You think the Syracuse fan base was singing George De Leon's praises there at the end? Like, this has been a 25-year-old conversation. I didn't just make it up. Coach P, I mean, it's the 92 Miami game and the 98 Tennessee game. I mean, the 92 Miami game is the game.
We won 5. Here's Brian Higgins.
Ooh. The bump back's ready for Game 6 tonight. We'll talk a little Stanley Cup Finals later. The Cup will be in the building tonight. The guy with the white gloves. What a weird job that is, to be the guy that just goes around with the Stanley Cup. Like, that's his job. His whole job. He just travels around with the Stanley Cup. He's Stanley Cup guy. He probably has a name. It's probably not Stanley. But he'll be the... I find it funny that the guy that has to guard the cup has the white gloves, and then they just, hey, you won. All right. Sweaty guys wearing stinky hockey uniforms with beards that haven't been shaved in 3 months. Here you go. Do whatever the hell you want with it. But when I touch it, gloves. When you touch it, all bets are off. Anything goes. Literally anything goes with that thing. But we'll talk a little Stanley Cup versus the NBA Finals later on in the show. How about a little hoops? How about a little hoops from not last night? We'll get to that later. But we got a few leftover tidbits from last week that we never got to. And some Boeheim's Army news from late last night and this morning. It was, I think yesterday technically was the deadline. You needed to have 8 on your roster for the TBT. And Boeheim's Army is now at 8. And they have added the first Well, they have one player in Nick Perkins that went to Buffalo, but all right, there's a little New Yorkie tie. You can squint and figure it out. So they've added the first guy now to the roster that really has no ties, but this is the hey, you needed a point guard tie. Apparently, they were trying to get Tyler Ennis. He's signed a contract overseas and thus was unavailable for it. So the newest member of Boeheim's Army, not familiar with his game, but he just stole something from me because Jacob Gilliard, at the time he graduated from Richmond about 5 years ago, was the NCAA all-time leader in steals, which I'm told that's good, to be the NCAA all-time leader in things after the end of your career. Now, Syracuse fans, just take a deep breath. I know after this last season of Syracuse basketball that everybody is a little hesitant about, what's the nice way to say this, height-deficient point guards. Jaquan Carlos. Jacob Gilliard. This is okay, people. It's okay. He's 5'9". But remember, defense. He was the NCAA career leader in steals at the time of his graduation from Richmond. So, okay, go Spiders. But Richmond, that's a little, too soon. Too soon. Richmond, too soon. But he's joining the team. He's played some G League. He was a teammate of Elijah Hughes for a year, a couple of years ago in the G League, so he'll be a teammate with Elijah on this team. This past year, he played in Germany, and you know, part of what we said about Carlos and some of the issues, like could not put the ball in the hoop. Gilliard over in Germany shot 40% from three and did so in like plenty of attempts. He shot it a lot. So adding that, Malachi Richardson, I think we mentioned this last week. He was added to the roster last Friday. So they're up to 8. Sean Belby saying, I believe he told Donna this. Was it Mike? Donna? I think it was a Donna article this morning that he plans on adding a couple more. They need a big guy and a small guy. Gerard's got to be on this team, right? Like, that's going to happen? That's so going to happen. But we await for that to happen. The big guy will not be Naheem McLeod. Naheem today was announced he's going to be in the TBT, but he's playing for War Eagle or War. I don't think it's a War Eagle. War something. It's an Auburn team that apparently most of their roster is not Auburn guys. I don't know. So the Big Duke will be in the tournament as well. So a little TBT for you going forward, where their deadline to get 8 guys was yesterday, and now you basically have up until the tournament to fill out your roster with basically whatever you want to do. Let's get back to the phones. Phone lines are open, 315-437-7644. Tony in the Q's is with us. What's up, Tony?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Just different times. Listen to the recruitment and listen to who we get and don't get. I want to switch gears with it a little bit, though, because we got a lot of young guys and stuff like that. But in 1 year, at least what I, saw is talking about the development of these players compared to in the past. It seems like these coaches are doing a good job at getting these guys ready to play, even if it's like halfway through the year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw as last year went along, different guys, right, being ready to contribute by the end of the year than necessarily were by the beginning. I think of a guy like a pass rusher like David Amaparola last year, who nobody knew who he was when the season started. And last year, injuries and whatnot, he was really important. We talk about the D-line and Murad Watson, and, it worked out for him for a huge payday from Texas in the offseason. From the face of it here, it looks like, Tony, that Fran has put together a very good coaching staff at being able to do both things. Like, I go back to the Marone era. That was a very good developmental coaching staff. Like Doug himself, like he would coach up an offensive lineman. Now he would get that line ready to play. It wasn't the best recruiting group. And now this year, it looks like they're kind of capable of doing both. And to your point, extremely young roster this year, Tony. It's going to be very necessary to see the developmental aspect of things this year and next.
And then the quarterback position, I know that Angeli or Collins got it, but one thing with Fran is if there's talent out there and it falls within our school and NIL and it can improve the team, then he's just going to go after it. I mean, I just keep thinking about the coaching. The quarterback room before he brought in everybody brought in last year. We had Del Rio and Brandon Davis, and I can't remember who the other quarterback was that was supposed to lead us to victory last year. So he's just going to go after whoever, and if they're better talent, he's going to bring him in. If you can hold your position, you can hold it. If not, he's going to give it to the other person.
Yeah. That's why, Tony, I was saying this earlier to Ryan from Virginia. That's why I think, all right, if you told me to guess today who's starting game one, I'd guess Angeli. But I think the first couple weeks of August is going to be a fair fight. I don't think this is predetermined, premeditated. I think between Angeli and Collins, they're going to have a legit QB battle. And to your point, Tony, like, Fran's going to say, all right, you are the best guy to win this Tennessee game, and you're going to start. I don't think there's going to be anything more to it than that.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. And in the running back room, I don't know what the status of Nixon is, but we can't forget about him. And then you got the young running backs that weren't at the spring game. But he's got some young guys that came in last year that I'm looking forward to filling in some of these spots. But that's a ways away, but it's still nice to watch him do what he's doing.
All right, Tony. Thanks, as always, for the call. And, yeah, it's going to be a significantly younger group this year than last year. That is for darn sure. It's going to be a significantly younger group. From this year or last year. I mean, look at all the veterans they had. Like, I know we crap on Dino a lot. The cupboard wasn't as empty as I think many of us thought, and then it was a great job of Fran and crew of supplementing it. And obviously, it starts with McCord. Without McCord last year, I don't even know. Like, if they didn't get McCord last year, now I'm sure he would have gotten somebody, but. Like, do you win 6? I don't even know. McCord was so good last year. I can't remotely comprehend what that team would have been last year with anybody else at quarterback. I can't possibly comprehend it. Like, nothing works without him last year. Now, yeah, somebody different from the transfer portal would have been starting last year. Like, there was nobody left that was legitimately going to be starting last year. I don't know who would have been the starting quarterback last year, but it would have been nobody anywhere near as good as McCord, which makes it is always the question. The quarterback is always the question. Angeli and Collins, either, both, one, they could have a good year this year. And it's still going to pale what Kyle did last year. Kyle smashed every quarterback record that Syracuse had. Smashed it. The passing ones, anyway. That McNabb guy here, he could scoot a bit. And Graves and McPherson. As great as those three were, McCord passing the ball smashed anything any of those guys ever did. As great as they all were. And man, they were all great. Angeli could be a really good 2-year player. Collins maybe could be a really good 2 or 3-year player. Maybe. Maybe by the time they get to be a senior, they can be close to what McCord was this year. Maybe. That's still asking a lot. The question is, how much has Fran upgraded the rest of the roster with young talent, to Tony's point, developmental talent, that you can catch up to the experience and then just the sheer awesomeness that McCord was last year. And then multiply in the schedule this year, and that you can see how it's all mixing in. You look at the roster and you're like, all right, I see what they're doing here. 100% see what they're doing here. Plan in place, plan in action. That doesn't guarantee anything. There has to be development on this roster. There are so many freshmen and sophomores on this year's roster. It is wild. But it hopefully leads to growth throughout the year. And then potentially, if you look at it in a 2-year chunk, if you look at this thing in a 2-year chunk, in theory, you're going to have the same starting quarterback the next couple of years if one of these guys is a definitive winner of the job. And in theory, you're going to have a bunch of the same guys contributing over the course of the next couple of years. Yeah, you're going to have to fend off the portal and all that stuff. But in theory, you look at the next couple of years of Syracuse football, and you're going to have, the same chunk of the roster that's going to lead them through this. And hopefully, over the course of a 2-year time period, it really pays off dividends. With that, we'll take a break. Here in this hour, brought to you by William Matar. Phone lines remain open next, 315-437-7644. Much more to come after this on a Tuesday. It's Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Cuse Vegas, I just think it's wild. You think I've concocted this idea that Syracuse fans were sick of George DeLeon. Like, I mean, the guy knew more football than most people roaming planet Earth. But, like, this was not something I just thought of like 4 seconds ago. But you also got to look at the end of the Coach P era. Like, it was sputtering. Were they, though? Look at the last 3 years of Coach P. Look at 02, 03, 04. It was 4-8, 6-5, 6-6. I mean, it was sputtering. Yeah, Ray Rice was committed. He was committed for P, right? Like if they'd got rid of DeLeon and kept P, like Ray Rice is still probably coming, right? Yeah, but come on. Look at the league that year, Cuse Vegas. They lost to Temple. Like, it was sliding by the end. It was probably close to time to make a change, and the way it went down couldn't have been worse. That's what I don't get. Like, they shouldn't have fired Coach P after the bowl game and been the 35th team or whatever it was that year to hire a coach. Like, if you're going to make the move that year, you needed to make the move. Like, the timing was atrocious. You had to keep him for one more year at that point. But, like, it was sliding, and there was nothing to indicate that modern innovation or anything was going to pop it back up at that point. Well, I think it's firing DeLeon. I think you needed to do something to freshen up what Coach P was doing. Like, Coach P was fiercely loyal, which was a good thing, but something needed to be freshened. And that thing was probably, at the time, less short side option. Like, it worked for a really long time. But, like, that was right about the time, like, the speed, like, look at what Rich Rod started doing at West Virginia, like, right at that time. Like, things were changing rapidly. Tell that to Coach Fran. Yeah, Coach Fran, like, this is not an insult to George DeLeon's football intellect. Also, when George was working with Fran, George wasn't the offensive coordinator in any of those places. He was the line coach. All right, I'm hating Cuse Vegas. I'm looking reasonably at the last 5 years of Coach P. It was not the same as the first 10. All right, Cuse Vegas. That's what I said. You're forgetting your Syracuse football history if that's what you're believing. I'm saying if Coach P had made staff changes, I bet he would have kept his job for at least another year. Coach P was unwilling to do that because he was a fiercely loyal guy. He's to be commended for being fiercely loyal. Who's Noah Starkey? Yeah, Coach P went down with the ship. Do I know Noah Starkey? Is that a new one, Ryan?
DNY. It's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, back at it here on this. What day is it? It's Tuesday. Tuesday! You know what's coming up on the show tomorrow? There's a new women's lacrosse head coach. Tim Leonard will be in for me tomorrow, and he will be chatting with one Reggie Thorpe on the program tomorrow. Like Reggie. Good guy. We'll see. There's only one step left for that program to make. No pressure, Reggie. The only thing this program has never done is literally win the national title. So go to that. Good luck on all that. Good luck on all that. All right, phone lines open, 315-437-7644. Let's go to the phones. We got Ray in Vegas. What's up, Ray?
Brian, what's going on, man? It's Ray, a.k.a. Cuse Vegas. I just buzzed.
All right, we've been yelling at each other in the chat over the course of the last break. So let the people know here.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of yours, man. I wanted to call in. Really, the reason I always flare up on this issue is a lot of Cuse fans don't understand our history, and that's why we were, I think, failing for so long, and that's why I'm all in on Coach Fran. George DeLeon was the offensive coordinator for 10, 11 years. He went to the NFL for 1 year. The guy that he was mentoring, Kevin Rogers, became our offensive coordinator at the same time that Donovan McNabb was in his prime when he won multiple Offensive Player of the Years. So in the wake of that, we almost got Mike Vick at the last second. He flip-flopped and he went to Virginia Tech. Would have been awesome if we kept him, but if we're talking about Marvin Graves, Don McPherson, Donovan McNabb, he was a great recruiter, George DeLeon. He was a hell of a coach, and people should really put a lot of respect on his name. And the fact that Coach Fran, in his opening press conference, name-dropped those two, that's really why I myself jumped in and started to, produce media to support them. And I just think it should be publicly acknowledged that we had a lot of trolls that were talking a lot of crap about him and, had a really negative impact on our program. So I just figured I'd call in and mention that,
Yeah, I mean, I think, Ray, that by the end, though, of Coach P, looking back, things had gotten stale. I mean, if you look at the last few years, now, obviously, if you go back, I'd like to think nobody would have done it the same way it got done at the time. That led to G-Rob and the absolute just disaster that was the next 4 years, which affected the decade after that. But you look at the last 5 years of P, it had slid. It wasn't the McNabb era anymore, and there was no sign at the time that it was going to bounce back to that if things hadn't gotten freshened up. And P, to his credit, fiercely loyal to his guys. He wasn't going to do it without his guys, and, that was their undoing in the end.
But I do think this is the major weakness Cuse fans have is, hindsight isn't 20/20. We couldn't have and never had the chance to hire people that we didn't hire because we didn't have the money, higher profile coaches that people will name drop. Hindsight should be 20/20. If we had kept them around, Ray Rice and Courtney Green would have came to Syracuse the following year. We won a share of the Big East championship in 2004, and we lost on the road to 3 or 4 top 25 teams. So, I mean, the staleness, this and that, it's I still think we should put more respect on their name because it's going to be stale this year when Coach Fran possibly doesn't have a 10-win season, because we're playing a great schedule.
Well, that's not stale. It's year 2. It was year 15 for Coach P. I mean, you look back, he should have never been fired after the bowl game. That was a year of massive coaching turnover. I think 35-ish, whatever the exact number was, coaches were hired before they hired Greg Robinson that year. My problem was not moving on with Coach P after that season. It was moving on with him in mid-December when you were a month late to the party. At that point, you needed to do at least another year. But it wasn't that. It was getting stale. And either P needed to freshen things up or the university needed to freshen things up. Unfortunately, when they did it, they totally screwed it up, and it set the program back 20 years. But you're right. Coach P should be, because of the way it ended and then what it led to, I think Coach P gets blamed for a lot of the stuff that happened after him, which had nothing to do with him. To your point, what he did, and let's give him credit for being on the end of Coach Mack's staff too. He was a part of 87 through 01. He should be celebrated for what Syracuse accomplished during that time period.
Yeah, no question. Coach DeLeon, to pretend that he was the scapegoat when he was a core, we got to remember, Coach Mack didn't want to stay. Coach P and Coach D did want to, and they did, and they built our program up, and so I think if we talked more about it, hey, Daryl Gross and Nancy Canner torpedoed the program. Jake Krausemel, our longtime AD, retired that winter, and so people also overlooked the fact that Jake would never have fired them. It was just the fact that we had Nancy Canner and Daryl Gross, and you seem to have some insight into the trustees aspect of things.
Yeah, who do you think? Who do you think was really in charge then? The AD that got hired the week before, or the people that hired him?
Sure. Well, you know what? When I was at Notre Dame at that point in time, and I had emailed Bud Poliquin, and I said to Bud, "Hey, Bud, I'm glad that we're not doing a Notre Dame and firing our coach. It's an embarrassing situation. And Bud actually called me back and said, hey, I would keep your ear to the ground. Like I'm hearing things. And I was like, man, so it was such a rug pull, and young people, I think, don't understand when we talk about that. It's like, no, George DeLeon was there since 1986, running the offense for over, about a decade of that time. So, yeah, I could go all day with it, but I appreciate the chance to, throw that out there.
All right. Appreciate the call. We'll be hanging out in the chat, I'm sure. There he is, Ray in Vegas. And, yeah, it's just one of those things. It got stale. Things were stale by 2004. They weren't a disaster. It was just a little stale. And then some extremely, like a series of very bad decisions got made in a row that absolutely exploded the football program. And, get rid of him, whatever. And then it turns into G-Rob, and the rest is history, unfortunately. Because, 1 in 10 would have never happened under Coach B. Like, that wasn't going to happen. But, man. It's crazy to look back on it all because it was, it was the best of times, and it immediately became the worst of times there a few years after that. All right, let's get a break. Hour 2 when we come back. 315-437-7644. Still got a new segment to get to. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. And more of your calls after this here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
This.
I'm like a cat gaper. Meow. Like, from everything I know about that, like, Coach P got fired at halftime of that bowl game. Essentially. And it was not a decision being made by the guy that had been AD for like a week and a half at that point. Hey, Kev, what's the name of that mosquito spray I bought that you told me about? I forget, and somebody wants to know, and I'm not in my shed to look at it. It's apparently working, because I sprayed like a few weeks ago, and our yard is significantly better than our neighbors, which is just like the jungle. What is the name of that? Yeah, the Skeeter Whacker. That's what it is. Are the onions telling you a sad story? Like, there's still bugs in our yard because it's just so nutty, but, like, our neighbors in every direction, it's like you can't go outside. Yeah, I mean, I just went, like, whole perimeter of my yard, basically, in every direction. It's cloudy and 77, Dom, and according to the computer in front of me. I believe the humidity is 7,000,000% currently.
If you don't like your job, you don't strike. You just go in every day and do it really half-assed. That's the American way.
I hope it's happy hour.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, I found it, Kev. I think I have the Talic version of it, I think. Found it in my Amazon orders.
All across CNY, it's the 315 with Brian Higgins. Halfway home, we drive into the second hour with Verdict BMW.
That we do. Hour 2, welcome in. Phones be a-poppin' today, 315-437-7644. If you'd like to join us over the course of the remainder of the program this evening. What have we done so far? We talked a little hoops, a little Boeheim's Army. They've added Jacob Gilliard to the roster, the NCAA, I think former now, but at the time, all-time steals leader for Richmond. Too soon. A 5'9" guard. Much too soon. But he can actually shoot, so that's good. 8 players now in the Boeheim's Army roster. We talked about the newest commit to one Fran Brown. Corday Houston, a 6'3", 275-pound D lineman from deep in the heart of Dallas, Texas. And we talked to y'all as how we spent our hour 1 together today. Hour 2, more of your calls, 315-437-7644 for ESPN 44. And what are we going to do here? We can do a little NBA Finals versus Stanley Cup Finals, how I experienced sort of a Game 5 of the NBA Finals last night. And perhaps, if we have time, a new segment to get to today. We got a fancy new open and everything. We got all that. Oh, we were deep in the audio cave this morning. We were doing some stuff to bring to the people. But let's do a little, yet another day of NBA Finals versus Stanley Cup Finals. So Stanley Cup Finals Game 6 is tonight down in Florida. The cup is in the building. It's probably in the building right now. It'd be kind of weird if they hadn't brought it over yet. What time do they bring the cup over? I wonder. The game's in 3 hours. This is the cup there right now. The Panthers could clinch the cup tonight. But yesterday when we talked about this and talked about Game 4 last Friday night of the NBA Finals, series starting to win me over a little bit, becoming very, very unpredictable, starting to get intrigued. The Stanley Cup Finals still probably better overall, but I'm like, all right, I'm a little intrigued by the basketball. So last night, as anyone with children can probably attest to, sometimes you put them to bed and then, well, maybe you're not awake anymore. And then you wake up and you're like, ah! It generally goes something like that, but you try not to scream out because of the sleeping child next to you. But then normally you're like, okay, what was I doing? What blah, blah. So last night, Game 5 of the NBA Finals, the pivotal Game 5 of the NBA Finals in a series tied at 2. Big game. I think I'm into this series now. So, fall asleep for a little bit, wake up. But by the time I woke up, my guess is it was probably like mid-third quarter. A great time to lock into the game. It was the Pacers were on the comeback trail. TJ McConnell is playing for an injured Halliburton. He's having a nice third quarter. They're rallying back. Except here's the thing about the NBA Finals and why the Stanley Cup may have just taken an insurmountable lead in this year's NBA Finals Stanley Cup. Which do I care more about? Race. Is that at 10 o'clock last night when that game was at the height of its interest and watchability and the whole thing, totally forgot it was on. So that is a significant demerit against the NBA Finals, and if it's going to win, which one do I care more about this year? If I am to forget about the pivotal Game 5, sorry, NBA Finals, I'm going to say that's on you, not me. I'm going to put that on you, because I don't think I would have forgotten about it if I actually cared what was going on in that series. And I think the NBA is partly to blame for this and the television of it. Yeah, there's the Oklahoma City, Indiana, what the heck's going on with these teams, nature of it. And yes, I get Oklahoma City had one of the all-time great regular seasons. Statistically, they're way up here, all this, whatever. It's not about that. The NBA Finals started darn near 2 weeks ago. They've played 5 games. Game 4 was on Friday. Game 5 was yesterday, Monday, 3 days. Game 6 is Thursday, 3 days. What are we doing? The games are so spread out, I keep forgetting when they are, even though I do a show where I tell you when they are. I ended the show last night saying pregame for Game 5, the pivotal Game 5, starts right here at 7:30. And then by the time I got home, I totally forgot about it. That's where the NBA's at right now. It's a bit of a problem for the series and all that. Say what you want about like the 8 straight years of LeBron being in the finals, and say nothing about the Jordan era, but 8 straight years of LeBron being in the finals, perhaps it was a bit much by the end. I know this, I didn't forget when the games were. That, and they were running like they were being much more consistent. It was Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. I knew when the finals games were on. It wasn't Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Thursday. Like, I knew when the games were. Now, I don't know when the games were. What I do know is this, that tonight is a backs against the walls. The cup is in the building. Winner, not take all, but if the Panthers win it, they will take all. Potentially season-ending, finals-ending, cup-clinching Game 6 down in Sunrise, Florida, where, because they're near Lauderdale, the Suns, they're on the east coast of the state, so the sun's going up. I'm going to guess that's why they named it that. It's hot down there, but they keep it cool in the building for the ice. By 10 o'clock tonight, hopefully I will not have forgotten Stanley Cup Finals Game 6 is on, because otherwise then we may have ourselves an untenable draw of Stanley Cup Finals versus NBA Finals. But last night, barring some sort of Game 7 shenanigans from the NBA coming up, and I don't even know when Game 7 would be because I don't know when their games are anymore. I think the Stanley Cup Finals may have taken an insurmountable lead in this year's matchup, NBA Finals versus Stanley Cup Finals. With that, a break. More phone calls next, 315-437-7644, and potentially a new segment to debut on the show. All that after this is Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Kev will make you sign waivers. Don't F my house up waivers. Yeah, that was a very early bowl game that year, Q's Vegas, or at least early by 2004 standards. No, I think he just wants you to be quiet with it, Gavenda. Ba-dum-tsh. And no, Tim, we're just going to wing it. Man, I was having some autocorrect issues yesterday. It wasn't talk to text, but that new commit, what did McAllister think his name was? Jameis? Is that how we were saying it? Jameis Saki, Gemaus. Autocorrect kept trying to switch it to Genius. Like 6 times. It wouldn't let me type Jameis. It just refused. That was a wild few weeks. It was like Q's Vegas. If I'm remembering my timeline right, it was like 4 straight weeks of like Jake retires, then like Daryl's hired, then the next week P's fired, then the next week G-Rob is hired. It was like every Monday we were going to like a different press conference. Like, what the hell is going on? It was crazy.
Shows on Q Sports Talk. All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
She loves her mama, don't do drama.
All right, rolling along here on this Tuesday. Phone lines available, 315-437-7644. Them's the digits to come hang out on this Tuesday. Well, sometimes I get a little upset and worked up about things on this show. Every now and again. You know, we get a little fired up about some things. Well, I think we've gotten to the point we need to debut a new segment that properly will allow us to address these matters.
What's Brian upset about now?
Spilled milk.
What's in Brian off the deep end this time?
I want to watch my show. No!
Here's what Brian's crying about this time.
Oh, boy.
New segment alert. What am I crying about? Because Brian and crying rhyme, you see. And that is how we craftily create new radio segments. Well, the more I've been thinking about this, the more bothered I am as a Red Sox fan. And a somewhat lapsed Red Sox fan post the Mookie Betts trade. But the Red Sox are owned by something called Fenway Sports Group. Fenway Sports Group. They used to be the Red Sox owners, and now they're Fenway Sports Group. They own the Red Sox. They own Liverpool in the Premier League, your Premier League champions. They own, apparently, the Pittsburgh Penguins. I was unaware of that. They own half of Roush Fenway Racing. They own the Fenway half. They own all of Fenway Park. They own all of Anfield. That's where Liverpool plays their soccer, in Liverpool, in England. They own 80% of NESN, that is the cable network that the Red Sox are broadcast upon, and they own a bunch of other stuff, but those are the primary things. So on Sunday, the Red Sox completed a sweep of the Yankees, and then, like a minute and a half later, they took their $300 million former-ish third baseman, now unhappy DH, who was being told that maybe he should figure out first base, even though he was flat out raking and wasn't being allowed to play the position that he signed the $300 million contract to play, that he had been traded to the Giants for, I believe it was a bag of balls, a fungo bat, and a bullpen catcher. I think that's what they got in the trade for him. Then, the same time, Liverpool, who I will note is owned by the same people. The Fenway Sports Group owns Liverpool. Just paid £116 million for a transfer fee, which, when I put it into the handy-dandy calculator, tells me is $156 million, which when I do some handy-dandy math tells me that in a one-time fee that they are paying Bayer Leverkusen for the transfer fee for some guy, something called a Florian Wirtz. I don't know what a Florian Wirtz is. He sounds extremely German. So a one-time fee, that is just to pay to this Bayern Leverkusen to acquire a guy that they're then also going to have to pay. AKA, they paid, and this is what happens in the crazy world of high-stakes professional footy, that they paid $156 million to acquire this guy. AKA, that is half of what they signed Rafael Devers for over 10 years, which they just shipped out. Because how'd they handle the offseason again? Right. They got a free agent, signed him to play the exact position that the $300 million player paid. All within the same half decade that they took one of the most popular players in the history of the franchise, and it's a long and sometimes glorious, sometimes ignominious history, and shipped him off to the left coast to play for the Dodgers and create one of the all-time dynasties of the sports in Mookie Betts. So he's saving money or not, Fenway Sports Group? Because I noticed you just saved $300 million and then immediately spent half of it on something else. Are you rich or are you not? Are you in on the initial founding point of your, sports group thing, the Red Sox, or are you not? Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's like an internal conflict of interest. On one hand, we're spending a lot of money. On the other hand, we're not. But when you do the two things at the exact same time, save $300 million at the exact same time that you spend $150 million, like, I can't help but go, Like, immediately while you, not him, you created the conflict that led to all of it. Like, you gave Rafael Devers $300 million, and then we're like, well, we signed somebody to play your position. And then you were surprised that he was upset. And then, once he started doing something else, DHing and doing it extremely well and being the best hitter on your team after you swept your century-long hated rivals, you're like, hey, first base? You're trying to first base? He's like, no, I don't want to play first base. They're like, all right, get out. The whole thing's bonkers. But because of the Mookie Betts situation, it would be one thing if you had signed Mookie Betts and given him the $365 over 12 years that the Dodgers gave him 4 years back, and then this Devers thing happened, and you're like, oh, clubhouse cancer. We got to get rid of him. Yeah, then I might be able to buy it. Now, when you do the same thing twice in 4 years, just can't buy it, won't buy it. Especially after we had a decade, 15 years. How long was Manny with the Red Sox? I don't know. It was a long time, and it was glorious. I love Manny being Manny. The Red Sox didn't like it. They put him on waivers at one point, and then nobody picked him up, and they brought him back, and then they won World Series. Like, they've dealt with the insane stuff before. When you've got a star, you deal with some wacky stuff. I don't know what the Red Sox are up to, but it's a mess. And that is a new segment with an exciting new open. Yes. The hallmark of all good segments around here. I don't get it. I just don't understand what the Red Sox are doing. They spent 20 years spending like drunk sailors and winning. It worked. They won 4 World Series. They won 4 World Series in less than 2 decades. In 15 years, they won 4 of them. And now they're just like, well, that's good for now. We don't need to try to win any more of those. What's the fun in that? 2018, with Rafael Devers on the team, with Mookie Betts on the team, they won 108 games and cruised to the World Series. 2018. I realize it's a long time ago in sports terms. Careers aren't that long. It's not that long ago. Those guys are all still playing for somebody else. Because the team that owns the Red Sox is spending more money on a soccer team in England. That soccer team's really good. It's working. But you know what? I don't give a crap about Liverpool. Why should I care about them? I don't care about the Penguins. Why should I care about, the fact that they're owning all these teams? Is it the same money? Is it different money? I don't know. But appearances, they don't look good right now for the way it's going down in Boston. With that, we'll take a break. We'll get Tim Leonard in here next. He'll be hosting Yankees on Deck coming up later today. The Yankees won't have to pitch against Rafael Devers wearing a Red Sox uniform anymore. We're back after this here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Horace Jordan out there. You do care about Liverpool, Kevin. Well, try. I mean, it's the same thing as the Yankees with the S. I mean, that's normal. Yes, Super Cat. You enjoy that. Yeah, why isn't Liverpool over here playing in Liverpool right now? Suspicious. That's the thing, 820 sellouts, and they're just coasting on it instead of saying, hey, we maybe should try to win for these sellouts. On what, Tim? Adventures in Odyssey? Crying Brian Dern? A DJ? I'm not familiar with any of this. Adventures in Odyssey? Is this a show? Oh, the pod. Well, one. Yeah, one. One, two, six. Hey, look, it's Tim.
Hey, you done crying?
Yeah. Well, we can start again. We got the open. It's on the button bar now.
Yeah. That was truly one of the more shocking trades recent memory.
Yeah, I was just like, what's going on?
I didn't believe it when I first saw it. I guess now that I've seen comments since, it makes a little more sense, how bad it was. But yeah.
Well, how about this? Make it better. Don't stop.
Oh yeah, don't let it get bad in the first place.
Like stop pissing them off.
That was the interesting.
Here's $300 million. Now we're going to piss you off as much as possible.
Right. That was the interesting thing about Breslow yesterday when he spoke. He was basically just admitting, yeah, I take full responsibility. I think about it all the time, how we should have handled it better from the start and should have communicated. And it's like,
so then why do you have the job and he's gone?
Yeah.
That's backwards.
Yeah. But I will say none of the Red Sox players are. Yeah, I thought there would be more yeah, we'll miss him. Maybe some sly comments. It's going to be tough without him. Everyone was kind of just like, Yeah, it is what it is.
All right. Well, maybe it was that bad. But
yeah.
That's why you don't also do the Mookie thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you had Mookie, then you're like, see, we signed all these guys, but this guy's being a prick.
Yeah.
like, oh, well, you did sign Mookie. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. The Mookie one still... I mean, Devers is also, it's worse because of the history.
Yes.
If it was just one event, you could maybe get it. Maybe.
If they still had Mookie Betts running around, you'd be like, well, this Devers guy must have been a bad egg. Yeah, Mookie Jones.
I think what's more...
Mookie Watkins.
Mookie Jones, yeah.
Still have Red went to light up Mookie Jones like one of his first games because he wasn't warming up to start the second half, and Hop was just like...
5. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, back at it here on this Tuesday. It's Tuesday, and on Tuesday at this time we do this.
Here's the 411.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Phone. Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
In the 315.
So you're going to be doing that all week, right?
Nah.
Well, what's going on is I'm learning I have Linda Belcher in a lot of my opens.
You do, yeah.
She's very open friendly.
No doubt. I mean, it works, I guess.
Yeah, we got to do it. We got Tim here. It is the 411 brought to you by Superior Plus Propane.
So this is some good summer content for you, Brian. I saw a couple weeks ago now, the Clemson Wire wrote an article on basically ranking the ACC football stadiums.
Uh-oh.
Now that there is, 3 new stadiums to the list.
Okay.
Shockingly, Clemson is number 1 on the Clemson Wire.
On the Clemson Wire.
Yes.
Now, let's see. Is that probably right?
I think it's probably right, actually.
I think Clemson, okay.
Maybe Virginia Tech.
Virginia,
Lane Stadium.
Of the two, the two biggest ones are Clemson, Florida. I'll take Clemson over Doak Walker.
Yes.
As a stadium experience, though, the Flaming Spear thing's really cool.
It is.
Man, Virginia Tech is a vibe, man.
For a night game especially, I think that's hard to beat from the ones I've seen. So
I think Death Valley probably is consistently the best. I'd say the Virginia Tech epic experience might be higher.
Yeah, I think Florida State, the actual pregame presentation.
The pregame presentation at Florida State's awesome. It's just
and
most
the
of
chant,
most of the times I was there, a good game didn't fall. And part of the problem was every time I think I was there for a Q's Florida State game, it was noon.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't get the full night experience there.
Yeah, I think a night game would be different for sure. I also feel that just watching on TV, it seems like Virginia Tech Lane Stadium's kind of that size where it always feels like it's full. And
the cool thing about Virginia Tech, on top of there's the obvious cool things, the Enter Sandman, all that stuff is cool. The bleachers, the stands on the far side, so the ones behind the visitor bench, it's the steepest thing I've ever seen.
And there's no break in it, right?
No, it's just it's just a wall. It's just it is wildly intimidating to look at that.
I do feel of the stadiums that I have been to, and I guess we are sort of uniquely have been to a fair amount of these and been on the sideline where you're kind of speaking to the atmosphere and trying to wrap your head around how this compares to other places. I think Virginia Tech is definitely the loudest I have heard just because of what you spoke to, the steep angle. It feels more like the fans are kind of on top of you there.
Yeah. Clemson, the 2018 game where they had the Chase Bryce and the comeback and T. Higgins and the penalty. There was vibes going on there. That was a cool environment. I mean, heck, the Dome when it's rocking is right up there. I'm sure the Dome probably got crapped on this list.
It did get crapped on, so that's kind of why I brought it up. They were ranked 15th, the JMA Wireless Dome, out of 17.
15 out of 17.
I just don't understand.
Absolutely not.
And maybe it's
who's
bias,
below them.
But so the blurb here below them is actually 2 NFL stadiums. It is Pittsburgh at 17, Acrisure Stadium.
What?
I don't know why. They said an NFL stadium at the bottom of the list? ? Absolutely. Well, it's a fine stadium. It has zero feel of a college football stadium.
That's true.
And then I have not been to Hard Rock Stadium. Hopefully I'll be going this year, but that
What's wrong with Hard Rock Stadium?
It says if we were going strictly off of the stadium itself, this would be much higher. Even so, a nice stadium can't save you from an awful atmosphere and a miserable situation.
It is weird. Like, you're nowhere near campus.
Yeah, it's wildly difficult for students to go to the games.
Yeah, we played there in 2017. I got, first time I've been to the stadium, you get in an elevator, you're like, all right, where the hell? And the broadcast booths there, they put you in, the end zone. Like, you're nowhere near anything. So, we're trying to figure out where we're going. Got off an elevator, where we thought we were supposed to be, and, took a step out. We were just, in a nightclub. What the hell just happened? Yeah. And I'm like, and the people who could see just look at it. It's like, oh, no, yeah, you're right over there.
Yeah, this happens a lot.
It's like, I'm like, yeah, just go over there. It's like the bottle service is here, the nightclub is. So here's what I'm hearing. They have Wake Forest ranked higher than the Dome.
I couldn't believe where Wake Forest is ranked.
Boston College ranked higher than the Dome?
Yes.
Are you out of your mind?
I'll give you the blurb on Syracuse. I believe, I'll scroll down. I believe Wake Forest was 7.
7?
Which just blew my mind.
What? No, it's a nice stadium. It's gotten a lot better. It's not bad. But
Alumni Stadium's the same thing.
Boston College's stadium is terrible.
It's awful. And even Wallace Wade, Duke Stadium.
Stadium is a mess.
It's bad. They have made upgrades to it. But the joke in the triangle, since, I grew up there, is that's kind of like the best stadium to take your kids. It'd be good for, kids your age, because there's always
plenty
empty
of room.
seats, and you can just
you want.
have a full section to yourself. So the blurb on Syracuse, it says, this is a Clemson article. Okay, this one hurts. Years ago, this would have been much higher, but JMA Wireless isn't what it used to be, for me at least. The name change alone should mark it down substantially.
The name change ruined it for you?
It has nothing to do with the actual venue. Actually, the venue has gotten much better.
Yeah.
At this point, while it's a fine venue, it doesn't feel like a football venue nowadays. It could use some upgrades. It just got upgrades. And something that will make it feel more important for the football program.
Yeah, didn't it feel important enough when Clemson walked in there and lost?
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think it felt important that day. They're a little that's a decade later. They're butthurt about that loss.
I know. Of all the teams I would feel they would have a little bit of respect for, that's a tough place to win. That's actually got a, sneaky good atmosphere because it's the Loud House and everything that we try and harp on or talk about, I guess.
Yeah. You're putting Duke?
So Duke 14, BC 13, SMU haven't been there yet.
I can't
12.
speak to that.
This is the reason I saw this article, and this is a very predictable reason as to why I would see this article. NC State was ranked 11th, and this outraged the NC State fan base because they want to just be outraged at something.
I'll actually say this.
I think that is a bad ranking.
NC State's actually it's a
good stadium.
It's a good state. It's got a really, I like the NC State vibe. Now, I don't know if the rankings dinged there because it's not on campus. That seems to be hurt their rankings, but it's kind of a neat little setup there for the NC State Stadium. They're right adjacent to the state fairgrounds in North Carolina. There's a big parking lot.
Yes.
Right next to it. So everybody parks in this one big lot, and I don't know if they've changed the rules. You're allowed to exit at halftime and return.
Yes, you are. And that is cool. It's a great tailgating venue, I will say.
I think, and it gets loud. I don't like sticking up for NC State. I feel a little itchy right now, but I'm outraged on NC State's behalf.
I would say it's definitely the best of the 4 in North Carolina. I mean, I don't know. Let's see where they have UNC.
I've never actually been to Carolina.
Keenan it's in a pretty cool spot in the middle of campus.
The
nice
year
view.
Syracuse played there was the COVID year.
Yeah. That game didn't go well.
I think that stadium's fine.
It's not good for tailgating at all. And I think that should factor into this conversation. And honestly, that's a little bit of a knock
you
on
can
Syracuse.
ding the dome on that. I mean, obviously, Clemson, Clemson's number 1 in the league. when you take in everything into account. That I'm not disputing here, but
I mean, I guess the tough part about Clemson is it's just kind of tough to get to because you got to fly in and then drive. Like if you're thinking where should I go road game, you're not really seeing a city around it. I mean,
it's a pain in the ass to get to Clemson. You
can make a case like BC is a bad venue. I don't know if they're factoring in, like the things you think about when you want to make a road trip. Like I would say Louisville is a sneaky good town if you actually want to make a road trip. It's worth visiting and seeing the downtown. Clemson, there's nothing around there.
Nothing.
Literally nothing, yeah.
Like you stay 45 minutes away at the closest.
Yeah, so NC State 11, Georgia Tech 10. Bobby Dodd Stadium is
fine. It's kind of it's aged. I mean, it still has the bones of like 100-year-old stadium in there, and it's like an erector set. It's been at it. Like it's fine.
It's very downtown, I will say.
No, it's right there. Like it just appears out of downtown.
It does.
The one time I was there for a game, Syracuse kind of lost 56-0 in the light drizzle. So that did not help my assessment of the stadium.
Yeah.
I'm not going to necessarily blame the stadium on that one.
Right. This is where our rankings get influenced by how bad were some of the losses.
How bad Syracuse football was when we were there.
Stanford 9.
I don't know.
Never been there. Louisville number 8. I've actually never been to Louisville.
Louisville Stadium's nice. Like I mean, if I was going to rank Louisville venues, their basketball arena is way ahead of their football stadium. Their football stadium is perfectly fine.
I can't believe they have Wake Forest 7.
No, that's insane.
Yeah, I didn't even know the name of it until I'm seeing it here. The Allegheny Federal Credit Union Stadium. I think that's changed.
I thought they were upset by things getting their names changed.
Yeah, I think they.
The historic naming of Allegheny Federal Credit Union.
Exactly. I can't believe that's the reason why the Dome. And they also said it's due for some upgrades. I mean, I guess they're saying the concourse level and things like that. But to me, I've always said this: the troughs is a plus.
I'm pro trough.
I'm pro troughs.
It's efficient.
Get in and out.
It's efficient. Don't never get rid of the troughs.
Virginia 6. That's where the NCAA men's lacrosse Final Four will be next year.
That's
oddly
true.
Enough.
Now, my one experience with the Virginia Stadium, the stadium's nice enough for like an older football stadium, but we had to park in. I think
parking's bad there for everything.
We parked. It was worse for football than other stuff.
Okay.
We were so far away that you couldn't see the stadium from the lot, and the media shuttle wasn't running yet. So Paulie and I were like on this journey, lugging all this crap, like down like 19 sets of stairs. So that was a severe demerit on my rankings. Though Dungy did hurdle a guy in that game and just kick Quinn Blanding in the head. That was fun.
Doesn't really narrow it down though. That was plenty of Dungy games probably.
That was like the first hurdle. That was like the first one.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
UNC 5. We talked about. I think that's a little too high or too kind. They do acknowledge, they say, Tar Heels have a nice stadium on a beautiful campus. Tailgating options are slim, but that's really my only gripe.
Like the Carolina campus is outstanding, but it lacks, I mean, much like Syracuse does, well, I'd say Carolina even lacks this more. They do not have big parking lots.
Yeah.
Like anywhere near any of the stadiums.
Yeah, you're right. Even the Dean Dome is kind of in a different section in the corner of campus.
I'd say for those familiar with like the Syracuse lots, like the lots near the Dome, which admittedly are insufficient for near the Dome, are bigger than any individual lots Carolina has near anything. Now they have they got parking lot, they got lots that kind of spill all over the place. It's a very different vibe, but they don't have a giant lot to plop in.
I feel that a lot of campuses or a lot of stadiums that are in the middle of campus struggle with tailgating. I think Florida State is in a good spot where they actually have tons of tailgating.
Yeah, there's a lot of land next to it.
Yeah, and that's a good thing for them because I know tailgating, maybe because the stadium is conducive to it, is a big part of their culture.
Like the Clemson thing, Clemson doesn't necessarily have a giant lot either, but their fans are so prepared for the operation that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're like in trees. They're all over the place.
And they're so happy to welcome you to Clemson.
Yeah,
Everyone's just weirdly nice there. Cal Stadium number 4. I don't think you've ever been there, I'm assuming, right?
No.
Yes. California Memorial Stadium.
They've got the cool overlook with the tree things.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
It looks neat.
It's right on the fault line, too.
Oh.
I guess. There was some signage that I saw that was making the rounds. when Syracuse played there. And then we talked about the top three already. Virginia Tech, Florida State, and Clemson is number one. I think that's probably how you have to rank
the top three are clear.
Yes.
I mean, order it however you'd like. The top three are clear. I'd probably put Virginia Tech ahead of Florida State. The Virginia Tech entrance, the Florida State Spear thing is cooler to me than the running down the hill at Clemson. The running down the hill's neat. It's a bit much with Dabo.
Yeah, it's kind of
I was there once on Clemson does like the most over the top military appreciation day. We were there one time, like just you're looking up and all of a sudden there's like a bunch of skydivers were coming in. You're like, oh, that was neat. Like they just can't do that in the dome. There's a roof.
Right. Clemson's environment lived up to the hype.
It's good. That said, and if I can just insult Clemson because it's fun to insult Clemson, their Death Valley, an inferior Death Valley. Because LSU, holy hell,
I was gonna
that
ask
was
you,
unbelievable.
What's your best non-conference?
Yeah, that's
Is it LSU?
not remotely, not close. That was wild.
I guess,
that was amazing.
Have you seen any other SEC venues?
No.
Not like the big ones, like Bama, Tennessee.
I've seen them, but not for a game. Like we've had a lot of basketball games there where I've gotten to check it out.
Yeah.
But I have not. Like I saw Thompson. Like I was at Neyland. But we were there for
Penn
basketball.
State? Do you remember Penn State?
The vibes are weird.
Yeah, I've seen the stadium. I've never
it's cool, but the whole thing was off-putting. And that was even before that story happened. And it's even so, we're like, something's off here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that, but I'm like, something's off. Like, it was cool, but at Death Valley at LSU, man, oh man. But, huh? Oh, God. But, false start. Breaking news. Mike McAllister. Breaking 2026 athlete Sakir Leaks has committed to Syracuse following an official visit. He discussed his visit in the link below. Click, 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 click. He's an athlete. I don't know what he's expected to play. He was here this past weekend. He's a 3-star. He's from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Susquehanna Township. All right. Committed to Syracuse football. Official visit. Yeah, here's the important sentence. He's being recruited by the Orange as a defensive back. The 6'2", 190-pounder was offered by Syracuse in March. The track star also held offers from Buffalo, UConn, Temple, and others. And so that last sentence.
That fits two things we know about Fran. One, he likes length at defensive back, and two, he likes track stars.
Yeah, he likes track stars.
Yeah.
Quote, the biggest reason why I picked Syracuse is because of the way they are here. What? The biggest reason why I picked Syracuse is because of the way they are here. Okay, I think the way they are here. They are very religious, and when it comes to building bonds and relationships, they're at the top of my list. Okay, I just read the first sentence wrong. The first they bring family into everything, so you'll never be left out. Leaks is rated a 3-star prospect, blah, 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 48th best player in the state of Pennsylvania. He is the 20th in the class?
Something like that.
19th? It's growing. It's the third guy.
How many of these guys do we think went to the Father's Day get-together that Fran Brown
apparently
had at his
a whole
house?
shindig at the Brown household.
And he gave every father a gift, apparently.
Which I guess is
Twitter.
Street legal now? I don't...
No, probably not.
Yeah, it doesn't... That one doesn't sound quite right.
It's kind of like when Kyle McCord was like, yeah, Fran has a rule that'll cut your NIL in half. And it's like, yeah, that's not legal, but we can pretend that's legal.
You can't do that. You can't do that. But that's all right. It's Fran Brown. Rules? Who cares? All right, so Sakir Leaks, the third committee to Fran Brown this week. There we go.
Nice.
Right. The 411. Tim's got to leave so he can come back because he's on tap for being next with the Yankees on deck. We'll take a break. Back after this. It's Q Sports Talk, ESPN Radio.
Dave Anthony here for Mercedes-Benz of Syracuse,
Tim,
where we're offering a selection
with the
of
mics. I think it sounded a little better.
Mercedes-Benz
he did some
GLA 250
audio work.
luxury SUVs to the public. Here's just one example. Get your 2025 GLA that's stickers for $49.5 and take an amazing $5,000 discount.
Isn't that what's most important?
This is a beautiful Mercedes-Benz SUV.
I'd say Mike 2 sounds not as good, but Mike 1 sounds dynamic.
This GLA is only $499 a month. Yes, just $499 a month. Hurry, save $5,000 on any remaining 2025 Mercedes-Benz GLA loaners. Like this one example. It's just $44.5 after a...
Paulie! Yeah, Beaver Stadium is just like, I mean, it's cool to see that volume of people, but it's just like, it's just like they keep just adding on. It's just big for the sake of bigness. But Baton Rouge, that's the real deal. When they did, because what was that? That was like a 6 o'clock kick or something. So when they did mid-third quarter or whatever it was, when they play the video and they do, and it's Saturday night in Death Valley. That was freaking awesome. That was awesome. When the sun goes down in the western sky. Well, then, Tronic, it's a good thing they're not employees yet. Oh, man. Yeah, Fran, you don't need rules. Marvin Graves, 6. I invalidate this list, Ryan Mullen. Marvin Graves, 6. No, sir. No, sir. Donnie, and Marvin still got to be the top 3. And as much as McCord's one season was great, it was one season. I will not accept Marvin Graves' disrespect from ChatGPT. Man, we're getting to Paulus DeVito territory. Yeah. Wild Bill ran for a lot of yards.
E15. Here's Brian Higgins.
Your heart's on the loose.
All right, back at it here on this Tuesday afternoon as we get set to put the wraps on things for today.
Here's what's on tap tonight.
Oh, what do we got on tap tonight? Yankees on Deck is coming up next. Tim will be back in for that. The Angels and Yankees were 1-0 last night in 11 with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Are they still doing that nonsense? Beat the Yankees 1-0 last night. Will Warren on the bump tonight for the Yanks. The Cup is in the building this evening. Stanley Cup Game 6. Florida leads the series over Edmonton 3-2. Panthers looking to go back-to-back Cups. That game is 8 o'clock tonight on TNT. Tomorrow on the show, Tim will be in for me tomorrow. And how about this? What timing for Tim? He gets to talk to new Syracuse women's lacrosse head coach Reggie Thorpe on the show tomorrow. We'll get Reggie tomorrow, 5:15. Tim Beret of the Clemson radio broadcast will join us, Clemson, for our 12 games in 12 weeks preview of Syracuse football. Tim also does, and Tim will like this about Tim. Tim also does stats for NBC golf broadcasts, which means he was just at the U.S. Open. So, what timing? What kismet that we have Tim Beret on the show this week. Later in the week, Ian McIntyre will join us. Orange men's soccer coach Andy McCullough, who covers baseball for The Athletic, will get his take on the Devers trade, what's going on with the Yanks, Shohei Ohtani back on the bump, and all that stuff later on in the week. So there we go. A lot going on later this week. Tim in tomorrow. I'll be back with y'all Thursday and Friday to round out the week. With that, Yankees on deck coming up next. Have a good night. One and all, we, the collective we, will be back here tomorrow, 4 o'clock, right here to take you through the day on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio, Syracuse, Utica, and Rome.
The 315 with